besties, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. If you guys are seeing my face for the first time, hi, my name is Maya and I like to talk about books here on the internet. Well, we did it. We finally got to the week where I could not post on my typical Wednesday. I know I told you guys that my biggest goal this year was to just simply post once a week. Honestly, I'm just surprised that I got this far posting every single Wednesday as I have, but in my defense, I have been working a little bit of overtime, just a tiny bit, to give you guys some end of year 2025 videos. So yeah, that's why this video is gonna be going up on like Thursday or Friday, but just know that the other videos are coming out in succession very shortly, and hopefully we'll wrap up for this month. I have a special announcement for March's TBR. I cannot wait. But yeah, I really didn't have to put this in. I understand that, but this is more for me. And thank you guys so much for being my safe space, my happy space, the space that I want to come to, the space that gives me sanity. I just really thank you guys. Anyway, let's get into the actual video now. Okay, bye. Well, we at least got to this video. You guys, I'm not even gonna lie. This month of January has me kind of shooketh because I finished 4 books and did not complete one. I did not DNF the one, I just didn't complete it, and I'm actually going to roll it over into the month of February, I've decided, because it fits perfectly for the buzzword readathon, and that is something that we're going to be talking about. I also forgot to mention that for future wrap-ups, I have just decided, one, we're going to do the regular wrap-up of the books that I read, and then at the very end, I'm going to tell you guys which books can be inserted into whatever readathon that I am working on. Now I will introduce to you guys my first book of the month, and this one I did complete, and that is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, the original classic. I am going to be giving this, I think, a 4-star. Overall, my experience was probably elevated more than a 4. A lot of it had to do with the prologue that was at the very beginning of the book, and within the prologue, it was talking about the making of the book, the author of the book, and its kind of cultural significance, not gonna lie. So I was very impressed. I was very taken with the soul of this book, to where when I read the book, because I had that prologue and because I had years of just watching the movie and it being a tradition at this point at every single Christmas, because it wasn't always a tradition to watch this movie, but somewhere, some way, somehow, when in my life, I had decided A Christmas Carol, I like that, and that is going to be the movie every single Christmas. And what do you know, it was the movie every single Christmas for, I think, going on like 5, maybe 6 years now at this point. So to have all of that and be able to read it, I was able to immerse myself just automatically. Like there was no hesitation. I was already there. I was just reading the words. And while I must say the movie really did a good job of doing almost word for word translation for the most part, I just think there was so much more in the magic of the movie because I was able to really see what was happening, because I could easily follow along images. And I think that's a really big aspect that I really need to think of, like when I go to classics, when I go to books potentially after movies, not having known it was a book when I watched the movie or a TV series or something of that nature, going to the book, I need to remind myself that it is a different work, it is a different medium, it is a different experience. While all of the things can culminate into a great experience, at the end of the day, this is the product that is given to the reader. If the reader only knows this, what would you say about this alone? And for me, I would say it is a great read. It is something I recommend to everyone. Yes, everyone should read this. Yes, everyone should read this around the Christmas time, because that is what it was meant to be. And it really speaks on a almost like a type of mindset and cultural experience that I think does not go away at Christmas time. I think you will immerse yourself in this book. I do think you can get taken out of it because of the type of language that it is, but hello, it's classic. Everyone who is in that era of history wrote like this, and it's just not something that the modern reader is typically used to. Now, maybe they would like it more. I personally find it harder to kind of move along with those words and also have the imagery. Sometimes it takes me a couple reads before I can truly immerse myself both in the world, in the characters, in all of that, but then also follow along with the language and have it make sense for myself in the modern day, looking at someone in a historical context that the reader at that time would totally get and understand. The experience truly just goes above and beyond. And I think that is the beauty of literature, is it not? When it can transcend not just different mediums, but time and space and generation. I think it's lovely and amazing. So yeah, 4-star. Next up, a book I have also finished reading is The Tarot Cafe, Volume 2, Special Edition by Song-Soo Park. This is continuing a manga series where we are following along our main character, Pamela, and we are watching as she is interacting with an entirely different world outside of the regular world. She does own a cafe, and so she serves those people, but then at night she serves a different type of clientele, a more supernatural type of clientele, and we start to get more answers to her story of how she got here, why she's doing this, what exactly she is doing this for, because there is a reason for that, and just a little bit more of her history as well, and how her history is going to affect not just her present situation, but also potentially her future. And I say potentially as kind of like a vague hint, but I am a positive teaser about volume 3. So I had a great, amazing time with this book. It just has everything. It has all of the rounded characters, all of the interesting characters, all of the suspense and intense moments. It's truly a roller coaster of emotions, and it only keeps getting better and better. Like, from book 1, I had so much to say about the writing, about how each little individual side story always got wrapped up in a nice little bow, but the main story gave you just enough to where you were satisfied, but then also knowing at the very end when you got that cliffhanger, just the emotional anticipation and just joy that you had that the story was going to continue, and you knew it was going to continue. And what I love about this is that this series was already completed, so that I didn't have to wait so long. This was a 5-star experience, 5-star read overall. Cannot just recommend this book enough. Definitely a new favorite Sorry Heartstopper manga series. Not me saying that right in front of their spines. Yes, so I finished this as well, and it was such a fun, amazing time. Then, bro, okay, we finally got here. Book number 3 that I read. Yes! 9 Liars by Maureen Johnson, because woo! This was on many a TBR. Y'all know this was on every single stinking TBR of last year, I think, right? This entire series has been like my series. This was my original go-to auto-buy, auto-read, auto 5-star author since I knew what all of those things were. So let me tell you a little bit about it before I continue to just wax poetic on this. We are following along a girl named Stevie Bell, and in the first initial trilogy, we get her shining in the Ellingham cases, and she actually goes to Ellingham Academy, which is the academy that was founded by Mr. Ellingham, for the express purpose of students to be able to kind of be taught in a way that is different than the norm. He believed that certain students needed to be handled in a different way to produce the best result. And it wasn't just a let's have playtime. It was a you give me what it is that you do. We get the best of the best in that field, and you will be molded into what you want to be. You just got to tell us what it is that you do, what you're proficient in, and then we can build a school that accommodates that, but also accommodates the type of mind that that student inevitably manifests in the student environment. And you'll just have a group of them and they're all going to be in the woods. That's kind of where we started. And then something occurs which I can't say because you find out over the trilogy, but something occurs, it's bad, people die, Stevie has to figure out what happened at that time at Ellingham, and it's now a special mission for her because she is a mini detective in the making. Well, not mini detective in the making, but a detective in the making. She's just kind of tiny. Or at least that's how I picture her. I'm a short queen too. It's okay, girl. But she is, going to this school where this murder went down, and this is her case. Like, this is her cold case. She wants to solve murder because she believes there is an answer to this. And, well, she does actually end up finding it, but you will have to find out how and why and all of the things within the initial trilogy. And because of that and her success there, then we continue on with her journey with a cabin in the woods, where she goes into the woods, she solves a local mystery there, and then we go to here, which is London. I love London. I kind of left a piece of my heart in London when I went to go see Stray Kids. Went for Stray Kids, ended up loving the culture, the history, the people, just all of the things, so left my heart there, and it was just such a fun, amazing time. Anywho, so this is set in London, and there is a group of 9 friends here, and they are theater coded, shall I say, and all of them met because of the theater, and so they would do just random theatrical things together, but then they also each had their own lives, had their own professions. They all eventually lived together for uni. They're gonna all graduate, so they're gonna miss each other, and so for the summer, for their last hoorah together, they are gonna go to one of their friends who is like this rich kid. They're gonna go to a mansion, and 2 of the 9 die. Uh-oh, sounds like something that a soon-to-be detective would be able to solve. And so in comes Stevie and her friends, and things go down. We're actually also left. We were left on such a little cliffhanger that I had a little mini crush, not gonna lie, on Book Talk. I called our author, Maureen Johnson, to the stand to explain herself on some things. Obviously, guys, I did not mean it, but also I was very soon corrected by the fact that there is a new book coming out this year, actually in October, and it's called, I don't want to get this wrong. I think it's called The Veil. I don't know. I'll already have the image on either side of my head, and that will confirm. Good, honestly, because I need some answers here. This was, of course, a 5-star read because, as I said, auto buy, auto read, auto 5-star author. She and Sarah Penner kind of just are my girls when it comes to authors. The 4th and final book that I had finished this month was the completed poetry collection by Robert Frost, and whew, this was an experience. Let me tell you what, listen, I am not too much into poetry. Now, I'm not against poetry. Don't get it twisted. I'm not against poetry. I just don't think, I gotta be honest, I don't think I know how to appreciate poetry in the way I have seen true fans of poetry appreciate poetry. Even if I don't understand you, I can respect you for who you are and what you do and your contributions to literature as a whole, because do we know or do we know that Robert Frost is one of the, if not the, people for poetry, right? So getting to read his works at all is such an honor. Getting to enjoy and experience the worlds that he wrote as a young author, even more just honestly humbled, because the passion, the technique, and even some of the insights and perspectives within the actual poetry itself are just astounding. And I'm like, this was your earlier works, because when I read the prologue to this, there were 3 parts. 2 were 2 full completed works when he first debuted like full collection. So these were, I believe, don't quote me on this, but according to the prologue and my reading of it, these were the first 2 full completed works that he gave out to the public. And some of the earliest of his poems were in part 3. So I don't know if his first poem is included or what time frame. I don't know the historical context behind any of these. Listen, I was just appreciating what I read and just going along with and trusting the prologue of saying, this is what each part was. Yes, ma'am, sir. Okay, I believe you. And while I had a great time and a good experience personally, I would say my overall experience with the product itself and my understanding, I would say overall, I would give this a 3.5, because it was an above average experience, and obviously above average writing style, technique, passion, all of the things. I just somehow was not as in tune as I probably was with all of these other books and experiences. And while I greatly appreciate what it is that this person has contributed to the world of literature and in specific poetry, I just don't know if poetry is my thing. So with that being said, those are the 4 books that I read. Let me tell y'all about the one book that I did not finish, and that was The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. This is a retelling of the classic A Christmas Carol, and can I tell you guys, I started reading this directly after A Christmas Carol. So A Christmas Carol was my first ever book that I read for January and in the new year of 2026, and it was just amazing. This was the second, and I did not complete this because I had other worlds that I dived into, and I am not upset about that. And I also, for my final FMC game, got to off the killer, so not mad about that. I am so excited though to get back into this world, and even if it takes away a little bit from the rest of the TBR, I don't think it's going to take away from my reading experience, and I want to complete this in the winter season, so I would like to finish this in February at some point and or in March, however that may look. I didn't finish this, so I obviously can't rate it. However, I can talk about what this book is, because this is a reread and I've read it before. I gave it a 5-star before, and spoiler alert, I just know I'm going to give it a 5-star again, because it just is the modern take on the original classic, and it gives us a more modern-eyed, modern languaged, verbiaged, whatever you want to call it, view of the Christmas story, and in a way that we really don't expect from this story. And where the initial story is talking all about almost a societal attitude and a way to look at Christmas, this one is also that, but I think it's coming from a different lens and perspective that makes it seem justified within the character, even though everything around it says no. They still think they're right, or she still thinks she's right, Holly, she still thinks she's right until something comes about and makes her care. And I think it kind of goes about into the actual mindset of our Scrooge and really shows that thing that gets you to change their mind. You know, that element that really gets them to do that 180 and is like, oh, I get it. So from the personalized, almost the mind of Scrooge is what we get here. And then the more cultural attitude and cultural viewpoint of the change of a Scrooge is like the original classic. So yeah, so this is the book that I did not finish, hoping to finish soon. Will be rolling over into February and into March if we still do not get to it in February. This is now the part of the video where we're gonna go into the readathons. So I had nothing in the way of any side quest readathons this month. We really just had the 3-year-long reading challenges that I had said I was going to participate in. So let's talk about these readathons. We're gonna go with the year in Eldia because your girl said so just naively at the beginning of the year when I was talking about these readathons of like, oh, I'll be able to just read these books and then I'll just put whatever is the most fitting for the first prompt in as the first prompt. Right. Okay, here's the story. I needed to know what the first prompt was, and the first prompt was to read a book published in that year. What I have decided was that I was going to be reading a book that was published in the year 2025. Now, is that still going to be a bit of a challenge? Yes, but also this month's TBR. Now, granted, that may mean I need to roll over some books. However, I feel like once I get through that book, the other books that I have read up to and past that point will inevitably be able to fill something of some of the challenges. The goal is not to finish, it is to start. Let's talk about the buzzword readathon. For this month, it was Truth and Lies, and this one I thought was going to be a little bit harder, but lo and behold, near the very end of the month, guess what I read? 9 Liars by Maureen Johnson. Therefore, 9 liars can fit in this prompt. We also, by the way, have a cover challenge prompt. Now, this one is actually not the month of January. I believe this is February's prompt. A book with a silhouette on the cover. This is pretty silhouette-y. Like, I know that this is the OG character, obviously, but it is filled in like a silhouette. So I think I'm gonna count it also. All of the silhouettes up here are also kind of a thing, which was the thing that I did not see for this book. But yeah, those are actual silhouettes. It still counts, even though I'm blind as a bat. The last and final year-long readathon that I am participating in is the TBR-a-thon. And for this, I'm doing the map of stories. There are 3 games that you could do. I've decided to do the map of stories just because it seems like it's the easiest thing to do and to be able to accommodate the busyness of life and maintain all of the other challenges as well. For this first month, number 1 on the map of stories is Old Growth Forest. And while you don't have to do the number of the location to the number of the month, I thought this one was actually pretty doable for A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens because this completes the historical setting and 1+ person on the cover. This is an actual person on the cover, not just the silhouettes, but there are also silhouettes of a bunch of different people. So I thought that fit very well. The one prompt that I was not able to complete within this location was a booktuber recommendation. Now, I'm gonna be so very kind to myself over this year that if there is another book that I read at some point during the year that goes along with that prompt and that isn't used on another prompt for another location, then I am most definitely going to be counting it. I do want to specify that I don't want the book to, you know, go into another location, because I don't think that was the point. I think the point of this whole readathon is to find a bunch of different books and to, you know, yes, have fun, but also have a little bit of a challenge if you like that type of thing. And I do. So I would like to maybe find another book that was recommended by a booktuber. And listen, I gotta be honest, of all of the books that I have read this month, the only book that has been recommended by another booktuber was the one I did not finish, The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. Now, I want to read this book because there is another prompt for the buzzword readathon that is before and after. The after life of Holly Chase. So I figure if I read this one for the buzzword readathon, then I can, because I also started it in January, it just makes sense to add that to the books that I could have read in January and just tick off that prompt. Honestly, more so, I'm not about, you know, all of the different levels that are also on there. I think that's an added challenge that is great for people who are able to do that. I'm not. I think for me, I just want to see how many boxes I can tick off. And, you know, if there happens to be a book that encompasses all three, fantastic. But if I need like 2 or 3 within a month to complete that, I think that makes complete and total sense. It's like an added element to my TBR that I didn't even know I had, but I'm grateful that I have. So that is all of the things for this month of January. I almost ended it this month and I was like, wait, we're in February. That is all she wrote for January, finally, when it comes to these books. But thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world to me, and this space is my happy place, my safe place. So thank you guys for making it such a great, fun, and amazing time. And if you guys want to follow me on any other forms of social media, I have a lifestyle channel, a bookstagram, an Instagram, a book talk, a TikTok, and a vocal account, I think, all linked in the description box down below, so you guys can go check that out. I will also leave linked all of the readathon peoples so that you guys can go and watch their videos, see if you guys want to join their challenges, and also peruse and check out their channels, like, subscribe, all of the things for them. And yeah, so again, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, thank you guys so much for being the absolute best bookish bestie that ever was, is, or ever will be. I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Bye!